About wholesaling houses. Wholesaling houses is when you're taking a house from a possible seller and you're selling it to an investor without actually renovating the house or selling it to the final consumer, an actual homeowner. The way that works is you'd have to find someone that gives you a price low enough to where you're able to sell it back to an investor. And at times you can make 10,000 on it, 5,000, 20,000, 30,000. Wholesaling houses in this market, it might be a little complicated because you still have a lot of people that are in a situation they might come into not be able to sell you because they don't really have a lot of equity in the property. They might be stuck with low interest loans in a high interest market, or if they have purchased after the 2%, when rates were at 2% or 3%, you might have purchased at a higher percentage. And then now at this time for you to sell, it might be more difficult. But the people who really have equity at this point would be able to possibly be in a situation where you could get a wholesale. How do you find these wholesale deals? I've seen a lot of people, what they do now is, what's the cheapest way is to hire what they do is they hire messaging service, either virtual assistant or companies that'll make calls, which is because calls are free and you won't have to do it. If you do it, it's better trying to build up your sales your sales skill, because really a big part of real estate is being a real estate agent, right? Or being a salesperson. But if you other ways people do it is through sending out letters. Sending out letters can get expensive. The cost for postage and the cost of the marketing pieces, it can be a lot. And at the same time, what's the chance of someone opening those pieces? Some people say you only need one or two deals to make it worth it. At the same time, if you're strapped for cash and you're spending a lot of money on marketing and finding people, virtual assistants, you could run out of that quickly. Wholesale game, you have to realize what are you willing to spend. A lot of time, if you want to spend your time, phone calls, and you're gonna have to use some service that gets you numbers, or you're gonna have to find numbers by digging it yourself. Some people are good at skip tracing. That's another thing you might have to learn to wholesale. The wholesale deals are not staring in front of you. Even if you drive around and you find a house that's empty and that might need work, the owner might not be there, it might be abandoned, or you even communicating with that person, it might be a tenant there. And driving around, you could get lucky, but consistently can you do it? You have to spend a lot of time to try and knock on doors and get a deal. But marketing and finding deals has always been the biggest hindrance. We're not always accustomed to hunting down door to door or calling people in order to find out if they're willing to sell. But I do get a lot of calls to me for telemarketing. Telemarketing, you just have to make sure that if you are doing telemarketing, that you're not spending any money. You're making sure that the phone, the numbers that you're calling, that they are valid numbers and they're not on the do not call list. Nowadays, everyone expecting you to call. Text messages sometimes work. If text message might be better to hit people, but getting in contact with people right now that want to sell and that can sell is becoming more and more difficult. And we are forced to the cheapest way to contact a person. A lot of time that's phone calls. Text message services where you're not actually sending a text yourself is going to cost money. And if you start to send the same text message or a lot of text messages from your phone to a lot of people unsolicited, they could get blocked by your phone service, or you can get blocked by the end user, thus causing a chain reaction of your number getting blocked, right? Even when you do marketing, you need to make sure you have a dedicated number that's not your personal number in order to protect yourself from accidental blocks. Of course, the numbers that you are sending to are going to be valid numbers that people have not put on the do not call list. You always want to make sure of that because you are a business and you are looking for deals. You don't have any relationship with these people that you might be looking for. A lot of people like to go after people who don't actually live in the houses. They might live in another state but have property. This is an absentee owner. And a lot of this stuff might be found in your court system. The contacts, some people are good at skip tracing, but I've realized as I've gone through the different counties, sometimes they take it off in order to protect an individual homeowner that might have sensitive information. Even now, as time pursues, the more people become online, become familiar with the calls you're getting, steps have been taken to where the courts system don't publicly show the information you need in order to contact them. But always remember, when you're marketing as a salesperson, phone call is the free option. An email is a free option. If you can find their email or the phone call, the chances of them responding to you will always be low. You can't always expect that you're reaching them, but phone call, text messaging, email. If you can meet, if you do knock on doors, yes, you can try that too. But beware, a lot of people in our time are not comfortable with talking to people that they don't have any relationship with. And you have to make sure that you understand the success rates. Wholesaling houses full time is difficult because you have to think, let's say you close one deal, it's 100,000 or 50,000 or 20,000. How much work did it take to get to that next deal? And it's not an equivocal thing where you can predict statistically what your next deal would be. Always remember, when you're wholesaling, when you're getting into wholesaling, you're a salesperson and you're going to have to call people, send emailers, send text messages. If not you, then you're going to have to hire someone else to do these tasks in order to get these people, because these people are not going to be ringing at your door. You're going to have to be ringing theirs. And wholesaling itself, initially, you can't come in as an investor and you can't come in as a homeowner. So whatever you purchase, you got to make sure that there's enough room in there for you to get someone else. And at the same time, even if you have locked up a deal, you're making a promise to the homeowner that you're going to unload or find someone to buy. Nowadays, there's more online sites and avenues for you to sell that property, but at the same time, there isn't. Having buyers ready to purchase what you're offering might be difficult. At the same time, you have to remember that wholesaling itself is a complicated, difficult strategy, but people like it because there's no risk of repairing the house or there's no risk of ownership. You're basically taking an existing contract and assigning it to the second party, and that second party will do whatever they're going to do with it. You're not involved, but you get paid on getting that deal and moving it and finding someone that's going to take that over, and you get your share. Although you may like it, although you may not like taking on risk, and you might seem nice to you, but think about it. In a year, how many deals can you close? Can you close enough to make 100,000, 50,000, 30,000 a year consistently? That's what you got to figure out. If you can do that, then it's more worth it.